Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever that may be for you. Welcome to Indie Artist Friday. We are talking today with Groove Centric, young men out of Atlanta, Georgia. Good morning, gentlemen. We have with us today Mike, Joel, Brian, and Donnie. How are you guys?
You're great.
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
Great.
Doing great.
Awesome. So we have a nice-sized group here today. I'd like to ask each of you if you could give us like a brief synopsis of when you first realized that you guys were a great musician. At what age did you start and who influenced you? So, Mike, can we start with you?
Sure. Once again, I'm Mike Jones. I'm the sax player in the group. I started playing drums first as a musician, and I was a church drummer for a while. My mom, worship leader in the choir in the church, and I wanted to sort of see if I had that type of talent inside of me, so I would go around the house kind of singing, and once I realized that was not my thing, I discovered Kenny G on the radio one day and said, "Hey, that sounds like singing. Give me a sax, Mom." And she agreed to do it. And so I was about 13, 14 years old when I first started playing sax, and I just walked around the house just trying to repeat little lines and little melodies that she would sing around the house, and therefore it birthed my saxophone life. And so since then I've been playing for at least, let me see, I'm going to tell my age, 35 years since then, and I've been enjoying the ride. I know I'm old. I know, right?
You're just a baby.
I've been enjoying the ride ever since. So I would say about 13, 14 years old for me. And my influences have been primarily jazz guys, all the classic legends, John Coltrane, Charles Parker, Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt, even some of the newer guys like Kenny Garrett, Chris Potter have been very influential on my style and very, very motivating for me, because every time I hear these guys, it makes me want to go straight to the shed and work out all the worst and the bad playing that I have. So just a wide range. Even some of the smooth jazz guys like Kirk Whalum and Gerald Albright, all phenomenal players that inspire you to keep reaching new heights. So that's me.
Wow.
I guess I'll pick up next. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we're actually quite similar in the fact that I don't tell people, but I was actually a saxophone player.
Oh.
So just that whole balance between, I guess, a Gerald Albright vibe where you play bass and play saxophone, because with Groove Centric I play bass, but similar background. Start playing music in the church. My mother was a choir director, singer, vocalist. In my family, you're pretty much a musician, a teacher, a preacher, or some kind of combination of the three. So I definitely took that musical, more church kind of background initially. And just went up. I mean, switched between playing bass and saxophone throughout school. Kind of settled more on bass as I moved to Atlanta. I moved here like right after college. I was a music major, saxophone major. So just that bouncing back and forth, but I've definitely found my home on the instrument. And, playing with great guys like this, what I'm saying? It's like it makes it that much easier for me to keep to my decision of playing bass, because I'm not trying to challenge Mike Jones on that horn. But, I mean, it's been a great journey, great inspiration. My mother, definitely my initial inspiration as a vocalist, and just hearing how she had, not just how she sung, but how she worked with people. And I think that's something that I try to bring to the music. I mean, I think the attitude of organization, kind of bringing people together, is kind of how I play my part even as a bass player. But musically speaking, besides that, John Patitucci, definitely a favorite of mine, because, I mean, he plays bass like a saxophone player would. The Jaco Pastoriuses of the world, and of course the saxophone players, the John Coltranes, the Charlie Parkers, what I'm saying? It's like such a wide variety of influences, international influences. I play a lot of different styles. Yeah, that pretty much sums me up as well, man.
And Brian?
Good morning. So I started playing at a very, very young age as well, probably like around 4 or 5 years old. Like the other two guys, Joel and Mike, my mom also was a choir director and a music major. She was what we call now the minister of music at the time. And so that's how I got my start on drums. And as I progressed into school, I ended up playing violin for a short time, and then I moved over to piano, and I ended up my latter years in school playing saxophone. So I kind of played a little bit of everything growing up, but drums has become my primary instrument. Right now, as a drummer, There's so many people, but some of the key people that I enjoy is like Will Kennedy, Dave Welko, Dennis Chambers, some of those guys. So that's who I am.
Are you one of those drummers that when they give you the solo, you can like go, get a drink and get some text messages in? You know, I notice with drummers, they get into that beat, and it's like unlike any instrument that I've ever seen. And then you kind of look up, and everyone's like looking like, you done? And then you go back to just basic hitting your cymbal. Are you one of those kind of drummers?
No, I'm not. Actually, the guys have to make me solo. It's one of those places I just feel so uncomfortable a lot of times, but I'm getting better at it. I just love the groove. I love sitting in the groove and just making a song feel good. But when I do solo, I just try to speak as much as I can with the instrument, but I don't go into all of that. I'm not getting ready to have you waiting on me to send a text message and all that. That's too much. I'm trying to get in and get out.
But you know what I'm talking about when I say that, though, right?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah. So, Donnie, how about you?
Well, I'm not like these guys. I started, I want to say, at the age of 2 as a drummer. And I hate to say that because I know I wasn't that good. But my mom said that I was good, so that was good enough for me.
Right.
So from that point on, I tried out the drums for a little while in church, and I played up for the youth choir from Detroit, Michigan. Woo! Yes. Okay. I don't know if I should claim that at all, but I'm going to
the world.
Anyway. But
did you make your own noise for your shout out?
Hey,
leave Donnie alone.
I know, man. They always pick on me. I'm the new kid on the block. I'm used to it. But I started, like I said, I was 2 years old on the drums. Then I went to and played at church for my youth choir. Got to Atlanta, Georgia at the age of 17 and tried out drums, and there were a slew of drummers here that was so phenomenal, and I couldn't compete, so I had to pick up something else. From that point, and also I couldn't make any money playing the drums because I wasn't that good, so I needed to make some money. I talked to one of my friends, and they were like, well, hey, man, you should start playing the keys. I was pretty good at the keys, didn't know I was that good until they told me.
Wow.
And then from that point, I just liked the way it sounded and what I could do. And from that point on, that's what I've been doing, playing keys.
I'm going to let the listeners know that we have to go to a break. And so if you gentlemen do not mind, we're going to come back. And, Donnie, I will allow you to start it off, okay?
Sounds great.
Listeners, we'll be right back. And welcome back to Indie Artist Friday here at KYBN Radio 98.1 FM, your Bay Area Broadcasting Network. Today I have 4 handsome young men with me, Mike, Joel, Brian, and Donnie. Collectively, they are Groove Centric, a young group out of Atlanta, Georgia. Gentlemen, we were talking earlier, and I noticed that each of you stated that your moms and choir were your base root. Now, with that being said, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. First of all, how did you come up Groove Centric? Second of all, what is the music that you typically create, and what is your creative process?
So we came up with the name Groove Centric. Okay, so let me just give a background. Each one of us, before we joined together, were accomplished individual musicians. So you got 2 types of musicians. You have, work for hire musicians, and then you have musicians that are in a group. Most of us was individually reach a certain sense of success outside of a group, but we primarily work for hire. That means that we went and we played for everybody else. We didn't have anything of our own. I think the only one that had an album was Brian Andrews. So I decided to maybe get some guys together and see what we create. And so I approached the idea to Joel and Brian and said, hey, let's see if we can come up with some music, because the premise was to put something out there in society more than, hey, he was a great gigging person or great gigging musician, but we wanted to put something out there that could
could stand the test of time, like albums and recordings and songs that we can be associated with. We were at the age where we had kids and getting ready to have kids, and we said, let's at least leave a legacy more than, he was a great musician and he played with some of the best. What do we have that's our own? So we met together and started just vibing and creating. Once we were doing that, we said, well, we got to come up with a name. We have some great songs and all of that. So Joel and I were sitting there and was like, well, what do we sound like? Like mentioned before, we kind of eclectic, where we come from gospel, kind of like a mixture of all the different genres of music together. So we said, let's create something that is eclectic, that means something like that. Couldn't think of anything, but we said, you know what? What's similar for all the genres of music that we have? All of them have grooves. If you think about jazz music, think about funk and Latin. All of them have a groove that's either danceable, or you can tap your feet to, or you can clap to, or head nod to. So we started with that. Actually, Joel came up with the groove part or the Centric part. I forget the order, but hold me honest, Joel. I think he came with the groove part, and then we was like, okay, well, what's a good word that goes with groove? So we, played with tree and sunshine and joy, and we was like, okay, all of those are lame. And then all of the blues, Joel was like, okay, well, what do we do when we get the groove? That we try to sit in it, we try to, get it and stay in it, in the center of it. And he was like, well, why don't we just name it Centric? We just get in the center of the groove, we stay there, we vibe out, we jam out, we're there, we lay in it. And so there birthed the name Groove Centric. And so since then, we kind of stayed true to the premise of it, and making sure that we produce music, create music that explains and defines us as total musicians, musicians that can play anything at the drop of a hat. We'll do R&B gigs, we do jazz gigs, we do funk gigs, we do tributes, we do anything, because these guys, some of the best in the country at being versatile, at playing every single genre, and not just playing it, but making every single genre that we play believable. So that's what we create, and that's what we will have on the new album that we have coming out in January. Shameless plug, but I inserted it.
Well, so speaking of shameless plugs, I was going to say, we'll get to that. I'm going to ask you about that. Do any of the rest of you have anything in regards to the question?
Yes, I thought you asked about the creative process. I know that. As the name implies, it's usually, a groove or something that kind of centralizes the entire concept or vibe of what we're creating. Individually, we've all written songs, or we might, come up with a part of a song and give it to a bandmate. The bandmate creating process has started to become. I can definitely see how we are finding such a new cohesiveness. I mean, just looking at some of the new songs that we're writing and, have yet to be put out yet, but it's definitely a vibe, and I'm really, impressed. I mean, the sounds that Dunny has brought, I mean, of course, it's no weak spots in this band, and that's the great thing when you have a small ensemble, but the mindsets of each musician is so producer-minded. Everybody has such an eclectic view and understanding of music that, it just makes it, a treat to create with these guys. Yeah, I have that to say.
Wow.
Wow.
Brian, Donnie?
That's amazing. I just want to chime in with that, and I just feel so honored to be the new kid on the block with these monster of a players, man. I'm so grateful for them to even accept me in the band. So I don't take this light at all. So I'm very excited about the new album that's coming up. But I truly am thankful and grateful for these guys here, Groove Centric guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Oh, this is so sweet.
and by the way, I'm the youngest of the group.
Okay, that's a lie.
I'm the youngest. But these old guys.
Are you sure?
Yeah, great. He's not the youngest.
I might be the youngest.
Watch it with the number thing.
No. I think Joel is still the baby.
I think I'm the youngest.
Yeah. But Donnie, look, we got to expire this whole new thing now. You can't be in there 15 years talking about you still new. I'm
always going to be new.
Oh boy, I tell So was that everything that everyone had to say in regards to those questions?
Well, I would like to chime in on the question when you asked the type of music. The good thing about this band is that, as Mike stated before, we have the ability to play a little bit of everything. And if you listen to our first project, it was very jazz fusion. We also had some funk on there. This new project that we're working on, oh my God, it has developed into something very, very nice in terms of strong melodies. The groove is definitely still there, and just the whole creative process has been very enjoyable. Matter of fact, Mike and I was just in the studio on yesterday. I had the opportunity to help kind of shape and mold his sax part, you know. I was being big brother at the time, but it was so fun. It was so fun because I could see the frustration on his face, but at the same time, when he listened to the finished product, he was like, "Man, okay, I get it. You know, this is something new for me." And so that, for me, makes the process and just the group as a whole, make the experience, it just makes it great. So can't wait for you all to hear this new music.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear it. So, gentlemen, we don't really have enough time for another question, but when we come back, and I would love for you to give us contact information where the listeners can go find your music, and I'd like for you to give your email addresses and stuff. So if you don't mind, we're going to take a brief break, and then we're going to come right back. Okay?
Sounds good.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sounds great.
And welcome back to Indie Artist Showcase. Today we have Mike, Joel, Brian, and Donnie, collectively known as Groove Centric. 4 young men out of Atlanta, Georgia that make awesome music. Gentlemen, my question for you, if one of my listeners wanted to get a hold of you, or if someone wanted to book you, what is your website information, your contact information, and can you also tell me, do you have any projects coming up?
Sure. So our website is www.groovecentricmusic.com. Once again, that's www.groove, Groove, centric with a C, CENTRIC, music.com. So if they would like to book us, we travel everywhere. We'll come to Hawaii. We'll come to Antarctica. We'll come to Russia. We'll come to Iraq. Anywhere that they listen to music, we will come. If you want us, we will come. There is a page on our website that you can fill out a form. If you don't want to email us, our email address is groovecentric@gmail.com. You can also call me, Mike Jones, at 678-895-0424. Listen, you want to call us because if you have any event or a festival or something and you think you're having music and you don't have Groove Centric, you're not having good music yet. Book us. Wow. Right, Brian? Oh,
that's correct.
I don't know. I wanted to go book you guys, and I'm just sitting in the house.
So you want to get us there at your events, at your festivals, because we have great music. As stated before, we play a wide variety of things that we are sure that the audience would love. Also, check us out in the winter. We have this new album that we've been raving about. That will be coming out then. We'll putting the finishing touches on them. In fact, we may drop a few singles first and then come out with an album. But please follow us on our social medias. You can follow us at Groove Centric on Instagram, Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat, so on everything. Just follow us at Groove Centric and stay tuned to what we got going. And we're biased a little bit because we're in the group. But I promise you it's great music. We got a great saxophonist that really puts in that work every time he plays. Just put that work in. We got a great drummer. We got a great drummer. The bass player, the keys are just on point. I'm telling you, if I sound excited, it's because I am excited
this music is going to take over. I promise you. I promise you. Let's go.
Wow. Wow. I like that. I really like that. One more time. Yeah. So, gentlemen, now that the listeners and any potential event planners have the information on how to contact you, where are you actually located?
So we're
We're all
located
based
in
here in Atlanta. Yeah, we're
in
Atlanta
Atlanta,
based.
Georgia.
Yeah, we're definitely here. All of us live here. We've been here for a number of years. Very active in the scene here. So definitely here we are.
Awesome. Now, I have another question for you, young men. What was some of the best advice you were given coming into this industry, and what advice would you give to your listeners? Brian?
Yes. Okay. Well, for me, one of the best advice that I was given once I realized that I was going to do this music thing full time was to learn the importance of being on time, very fundamental things, being on time, being a team player, and really studying my craft and understanding my instrument and its role and its place, especially as a drummer. People, a lot of times drummers don't realize you are the heartbeat. You drive a band, whether it be a jazz band, it could be a gospel group, R&B group. You drive it. And if you're off point, the whole band has the potential to be off point. So as a drummer, definitely understand your role and your part and your place in the band.
Anyone else?
I will have to piggyback on that. I was also told, this is Donnie, by the way, I was told that practice make, you hear practice make perfect, but I was told that practice make permanent. So with that, everything that you are practicing or trying to understand, that whatever you practice, make sure that you try to perfect that you practice. So when you do go on the stage, it's exactly what you practice.
Wow. Okay.
Bishop.
I know we missed somebody in here.
Okay. I have two pieces, I guess. One piece that was given to me, one piece of advice that stuck with me from the business perspective is, as a musician, stay above the clique or the little small groups of people that kind of form up in the industry sometimes. Put yourself in a position where you can maintain good relationships with a lot of people, and thus it will keep your work continuous. Another piece of advice was remember, and this is also reminiscent of like the mindset of Sun Ra, as in we as musicians need to be very aware of what our thought is when we perform and when we play, because our intentions are amplified and it affects people on a cellular level. So as you play your music, be conscious, because you're putting more than just good feelings in the air sometimes. So yeah, be conscious as we play.
And I'm going to bring up the rear with it. I think that it's very, very essential for musicians not to limit themselves in a certain space. I think you got to be free and be flexible with what you're doing so that you can work. I mean, if you just study one genre of music and that's all you're known for, that really limits you in what you can do. So my advice would be to study the greats, study those that came before you, and be very flexible and agile in this music world, because you never know what happens. Like, for instance, the COVID came and shut down our shows. But it's because we're flexible that we're able to play in different arenas, that we're still able to work. We can still do, a parade, or we can do, the R&B gig or a tribute show. So if we were just able to play one type of music, that would lessen our opportunities. So get you a wide range of experiences that made you a total player, that you can continue and be a consistent musician performer.
Wow, excellent advice from all of you. I have one question before we go into break. I'd like to ask each one of you, who would you most like, if you could, to perform with?
I would have to say Frankie Beverly and Mays for me.
Oh,
wow.
I like that.
And Groove Centric.
That was pretty good, Donnie. That was pretty good. I like that. Anyone else?
I guess I have to go
think
for Stevie Wonder. Stevie's still around.
Stevie.
He's one of the greats still alive. Stevie and Herbie Hancock.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, those two. Mm-hmm.
And anyone else? I know that's only two.
I would say
Well, I think
Stevie Wonder, Layla Hathaway.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's a good one. Yay, representing the ladies.
Joel stole mine. But I would really think it would be a fun hit to play with Rochelle Farrell. The one that sings the whole concert though. I think she's kind of went into a ministry type of thing nowadays. But the one that sings the whole show, I would love, because she is one of my favorite. That and Gregory Porter. I love Gregory.
Oh,
I would love to play with Gregory Porter.
Some really good names. I love Gregory Porter. Holding On is one of my favorite songs. Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So, gentlemen, we're going to go to a break. But I wanted to get my shameless plug out and let you know I'm a pretty bad clarinet player. So, if you ever need a squeak here and there.
That's great, because you can join in. You can join in with the squeaks that I make, girl. I make squeaks all the time.
Well, my favorite was always the bass clarinet, because I just felt like I was like, I had it on the side and I could just be like, do, 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 do. Oh, I loved it. But yeah, my attention span wasn't that great, so that was the only thing I liked to do. And when we had to play, the band I was in, we played a lot of classical music. So I love the classics, but when I was growing up, I didn't appreciate them as much. So we're going to go to a quick break, and we are going to come back to our final segment. Oh, boo. And welcome back to Indie Artist Showcase Friday. This is where we show the best of the best. And today we have Groove Centric, and that's comprised of Mike, Joel, Brian, and Donnie. And these gentlemen have told us some stories in regards to how they got started, how their mother influenced them, how church influenced them. I like it. I really like it. So, gentlemen, my next question for you. How has the Internet influenced the way you operate as opposed to how you operated without the Internet? And has it been negative or positive for you?
I think we can truly say that, for our musical careers, at least mine, I've only worked in the age of the Internet. So, there's definitely an advancement in the use of Internet now, especially considering COVID. And I'm very thankful that we kind of already had our places. We had some spaces kind of occupied in the social media scene and having, our pages and having other, like YouTube videos and such. But we also like now utilizing, because we've done a few streaming shows. So that's been a nice advent that we've been able to utilize during this time to just continue to build the fan base, continue to put forth good music and inspire people during this time. But also just to give us the chance to get out of the house and still perform as well. So I think it's been a mutually beneficial thing, one for the fans to be able to hear the music, and one just for us to be able to have that venue to still be able to perform utilizing the Internet and streaming services.
Wow.
I think for me, it's been a mix of positive and negative. And I've discussed the negative part with the guys here even recently, where a lot of opportunities that you're eligible for are depending on the Internet or the social media presence. And a lot of times, even with the music industry in general, back in the day, you go and you perform and they see your potential from your performance. But that has changed nowadays, where they want you to prove and show before they consider you. So that puts a lot of pressure on the upcoming artist to create a presence and create a base independently before you even given the opportunity to be signed to a label or to have success with album sales, anything like that. So the challenge with us is getting as many people connected to us through social media as possible. Number one, for them to hear the music, which is great to have, because now you're not only, locally, but you can be nationally or worldwide because of the capabilities of Internet. But it also creates a challenge where how do you get those people connected to you? What's the best way? What's the most organic way that people come out to your shows. And so as a person that books the shows, is really stressful to build that up, and knowing that you got a great product, you need a whole bunch of people to hear, and getting the support from the industry behind you once you receive that number and that fan base. So yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
Wow. Anyone else?
Yeah,
I would say I know for me personally, as Mike mentioned earlier, I probably was one of the first ones in the group to have a project out, and I just recently released a new single to Smooth Jazz Radio. It has shown me how positive and how strong the internet is in this day and time, because my followers, I've been able to reach people as far as Argentina, all parts of Europe, Africa, and I would not have been able to do that if it wasn't for the internet and being able to purchase like the ads and the promotional things. And I've had people to reach out to me and say, hey, I never heard of you, but because of the ad and I heard your music now, I've become a fan. So it's like the internet, I believe, now it can be your friend if you learn how to use it.
Oh,
absolutely. And that's what I was going to say, Brian, because there's a lot of places where we couldn't reach or tap into because of you had to play the waiting game, going through different labels, and because I started doing production and everything maybe I'll say like 15 years ago, when you had the major labels out there and you had to play this waiting game. With the internet, it's instant. Everything is right then there. You're actually going to get the response that you're looking for right away. So for me, it's positive for me. That's why I just like the way that the response time of the internet. So
excellent. Gentlemen, if you could change anything about the industry, what would it be? And what's next for you?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yes.
I'd say just right now, I honestly don't see anything that I would per se change, just because, if anything, it feels sometimes like there is a block towards where music is marketed or how music is marketed, especially when you're in a mixed genre of music, where it can be pigeonholed, and niches are good, but at the same time it can be kind of productive as far as like reaching other audiences. Like, we do jazz, but we do funk, but we do so many other different things, and so it's hard to just find placement as far as where you fit, and that's usually an issue I think that instrumentalists like in our vein kind of run into, because people are like, okay, exactly what do we do with this? I mean, that's really the only thing I can see that comes to mind immediately. Anybody else?
I would like to see a more even playing field for independent and new artists. Just seems like in the industry, even when you listen to radio, it's always the top tier people that we hear in rotation. It's always the top tier that's doing the festivals and doing the shows. Then it's like everybody else gets the crumbs. And my thing is, those top tier people were once unknown. They were independent or unknown artists. And so I just feel like I think we need to have a better, some type of platform where because I know you have to pay your dues, so I don't want to say necessarily make it easy, but I think we should come up with some other type of system where it is inviting and welcoming for new artists and independent artists to be able to share these same stages.
Well, with that being said, I've always said, when you get to the top of the ladder, turn around and extend your hand to bring someone else up with you. And we tend to forget that. As we get to the top of the ladder, we are like, oh, look what's up here, and you just keep going. And you're right. Everyone has to start somewhere. We hope that KYBN is your start in getting your music played. All throughout your interview today, we are playing your music, and the audience is getting an opportunity to hear who Groove Centric is. And we hope that you will make us your home when you have new projects, and then when you have anything coming out, new music, new projects, and we will help start off in being your indie artist platform. So, I extend the invitation to come back and let us know as you get your projects, and we will get it out there. We are quickly being lifted as the independent artist radio station, so we will help extend that hand to you. And Mike, Joel, Brian, Donnie, collectively Groove Centric, it has been an absolute pleasure having you gentlemen on the show today. And I thank you so much for sharing with us your story and sharing with us where we can contact you. And as we close our show today, I would like to say anytime you're welcome to come back. And KYBN is tickled to be able to play your music. I'll go around the round table and give you your last little shout out there.
Thank you, Sabrina. Real quick, if you are in the Atlanta area or surrounding areas of Atlanta, we have a show actually next Friday, November the 6th, at a venue named, a very, very great venue named City Winery. So if you're in the area and want to get out and they're doing it in a safe way, the tables are all social distance, and but we're going to provide music, a few songs from the new album, as well as we're doing songs from Al Green and Curtis Mayfield. So if you're in the area and want to get out and hear some great music, come on out next Friday, November 6th, City Winery. You can check our webpage or our social media for more details on how to get tickets.
And thank you, Sabrina, for the opportunity of having us here. We really appreciate it. We loved the interview. You had great questions for us. We really just appreciate the use of your platform.
And it was a great pleasure. This is my first time actually having a radio interview, so as you can tell, now I'm not a virgin anymore, so thank you. Oh my God.
Hey, that's an important thing, because that means they always say you remember your first, so yay.
Absolutely. Always.
Yep, so we're bonded. For
life. There you go.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you, as Joel said, Sabrina. Thank you so much for thinking of us and allowing us to be a part of your platform. And to all your listeners, everyone, stay safe, stay masked up, and please make sure you get out and vote.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. And listeners, you know it's Fabulous Fridays, and so you know we're going to party in the next hour. Thank you for joining independent artists, Groove Centric. Thank you for joining KYBN Radio today. And at any time, please do come back, and we'll be right back.